everyone, I'm Allie with PotomacBeads. Join me in learning how to cover your needle case with this beautiful basket weave design that Anna created. Also, if you happen to get the Best Bead Box XL, all of the materials to follow along are in there. If you haven't and you want to check out the subscription, go ahead and click on the link below with the descriptions. Also, you can purchase the individual materials there as well at PotomacBeads.com. Go ahead and gather up your materials and let's get started. To begin this needle case cover, I have a size 10 beading needle on 5 feet of white .006 wildfire beading thread. The cover here, you may have seen the different cover in sea beads and crystals. This is kind of a fun take on that, using some quarter Tila beads as well as Toho sea beads. I have two colors of Toho sea beads that we're going to be playing with. This transparent lustered Olivine, as well as this matte opaque light gray, kind of giving off a little bit of a purple hint. Along with two colors of quarter Tilas, the salmon as well as the matte opaque cream. Our count around our needle case cover is going to be 35 beads. The quarter Tila beads are about the same size widthwise as the 11-0 Toho seed beads. You can change up your pattern if you want to. You just need to make sure that you're getting 35 beads. I'm going to add 35 beads in a series of 5 11-0 seed beads, followed by 2 of my quarter Tilas. I'm currently working with the opaque matte gray and the salmon color. I have a stop bead on the end of my piece of thread, and I have those grouping of 7 beads, the 5 seed beads, the 2 quarter Tilas, repeated for a total of 5 times. 5 times 7, 35. At the end of the stop bead, you want to leave enough thread that you can thread your needle and be able to do the singeing and the closing up of the piece at the bottom. We're actually going to be starting on row 2 here. To get this into a cylinder shape, we're going to take our thread and our needle after those 5 groupings of 7 beads, again 5 11s followed by 2 of our quarter Tilas, and we're going to go back through the first 5 seed beads, the first 2 quarter Tilas, the next 5 seed beads, and the first of those 2 quarter Tila beads in that second group of 7. Rounding that out, that's going to pull that tight. And if you want to at this point, you can slide it onto your needle case cover, which will allow you almost like a knitting needle that you can kind of play on and actually build on top of. What I'm going to do now is take my threaded needle coming out of that first hole of that first quarter Tila, and I'm going to turn the thread the opposite way, taking the needle through the second hole and progressing. Pulling the thread through, I'm going to give just a nice little tight grab to tighten up that thread that is currently around the project. From here, we're going to start another row of our seed beads and our quarter Tila mixture. You'll notice that as I'm going around, I'm folding those quarter Tilas so the first one is down and the second one is up. In between each of these sections of seed beads, I'm going to add 1 more quarter Tila, followed by 5 more seed beads. So into the second hole of the next quarter Tila that's facing up, which would be the second one in that group of 2. Face that quarter Tila upward and move on to the next one. You're going to repeat this a total of 5 times, adding a quarter Tila, followed by 5 of your seed beads, and then sewing through again, not the first, but the second quarter Tila. Pushing that first down. The first quarter Tila, the second hole that is currently open, or the hole at the bottom, will come back as we finish and kind of singe that up. I have 2 done. I have 3 more to go. As I work around, adding in 1 quarter Tila, you can see that V shape already starting to happen, that basket weave, and add in my extra seed beads as I go around the base. As I add in my last group of these seed beads here, my quarter Tila and then my 5 seed beads, I'm coming back to the start of row 2. I'm going to take my needle and thread through that first Tila that my thread was originally coming out of, as well as through the first tila that I added in row 2. That's going to finish up row number 2, and then I'm going to do a traditional tubular peyote step up as I get ready for row number 3. To step up, just like we did previously, I'm going to change the thread direction, coming out the bottom of that first quarter tila and going into the top of the quarter tila. Because of the peyote switch, every other row is going to be the opposite pattern. So row 2, I did the quarter tila, then I did my 5 seed beads. Row 3 is going to be the opposite, 5 seed beads, then my 1 quarter tila. 4, we go back to picking up a quarter tila first, 5 seed beads first, and so on. So it's going to be every other stitch is going to be the opposite for the rows. You can see that nice diagonal stitch starting to happen and that nice basket weave pattern that Anna has so nicely on her sample piece. I put my 5 seed beads on, followed by my quarter tila, and then simply sew over to the next quarter tila in line that has that open hole. That's once again 2 stitches around. My thread wants to go around my needle case. And then I'll get ready to continue to add in the further rows. After getting that little tangle taken care of, I actually took off the top of the needle case, and that way I'm not having to pull my thread over the needle case so much. So I'm just going to kind of move this down as I create. I have on my last 5 seed beads. I'm going to finish up this 3rd row here, going back again through that first seed bead there, closing up that nice finale there. And I'm going to sew back through to my next quarter tila bead to finish it up, going into that first quarter tila that I stepped into and added. Because remember, the last one was right next to it and I was able to step up. Because this is the opposite, I need to go through the seed beads, through that first quarter tila, as well as then step up. Once again, because it's a new row, we're doing the opposite. So we were doing seed beads first, then quarter tila. I'm back to quarter tila first, and then my 5 seed beads. Once I have those on, I turn clockwise, adding on to the design. I'm going to do 5 total rows of this color before I switch directions for the basket weave V and switch up my colors. So I'm going to finish up row number 4, finish up 5, and then I'll show you how we're going to zigzag and go the opposite way. As you get to the end of row 5, we are going to switch up the direction to get that nice zigzag pattern. So normally what would happen here is I would go in and I would do one of my quarter tilas followed by my seed beads. I'm going to do the opposite though. So I'm going to do my 5 seed beads, and remember I'm switching colors, followed by my 1 quarter tila. Putting in to the next quarter tila in line, you'll see what's going to happen is that zigzag changes directions. So I'm starting to go the opposite way. Again, every time I change colors, and whether or not you want to do this every 3, 5, 10 rows, it's up to you. Every time you change color, you're going to do the same order of the last row that you did. So once again, I'm going to do my 5 seed beads followed by my quarter tila, rather than the quarter tila, then the 5 seed beads, which would continue with just that straight line. To zigzag, every time we change colors, so for me, I'm going to do it every 5 rows, I change the order in which I start the beads. So instead of every other row going seed beads, then quarter tila, I switch from that seed beads, quarter tila, then quarter tila, seed beads, to doing the exact same that I did on the previous row. So I'm going to go around now and keep building the whole way around my needle case cover as I go in and add all of my quarter Tilas. I'm going to do 5 rows of my Olivine and my cream here. And then once again, I'll show you we're going to switch directions and zigzag the opposite way. So I've gone ahead and progressed actually to my second grouping of green, just so you could see how that zigzag pattern with the variance in the Tila colors is going. You can see Anna put more Tilas in here with less seed beads in between, so you can kind of play around with that. In addition, it's quite springy. So it has that nice kind of openness to it that you can stretch out, or like I'm doing, you can do pretty close together, stretch out pretty close together. Basically alter it up. Once you're done with your green row, what you're going to do is progress back into that row here with the salmon color. And to do so, when you change up once again, this last row that I just did was a series of 3 seed beads followed by 1 of my Tila beads. Coming back the opposite way, I should switch up to Tila and then 5 seed beads. Instead, I'm going to do my 5 seed beads and my Tila, so that way my quarter Tilas start coming back in the opposite direction, getting that zigzag motion. So once again here, I'm going to do the same pattern that I did on the previous row and switch the direction of the quarter Tilas. On go my gray beads, then on go my actual seed beads. So in my pattern, I continued till I had 3 bands of each of my colors. 3 of the purple pink, well, gray and pink combo, and then the olivine and the beige color as well, that cream color. And you can see mine are stacked closer together, whereas Anna's are separated further out. So it has that slinkiness to it that you can kind of control how you want it to look. As you get to the top and you finish off the design, I'm on my 5th row of my 3rd grouping of my olivine color, and instead of adding my quarter Tila to the rotation, all I'm doing is adding 5 of my seed beads. 5 seed beads go through the quarter Tila. 5 seed beads go through the quarter Tila. That's going to tighten this up and sit right in that ridge there. I've taken my needle and thread through this 1 time, and I'm going to go through 1 more time, even tightening it up a little bit further. As you get to the top then, you see how I'm putting a fair amount of pressure right there on that ridge to tighten it up. We're going to do the same thing on the bottom as well and tighten it up so that it stays in its location. If you want to, you can even push this down slightly, add a drop of glue along that edge there, and then slide the beads back in place, allowing them to dry with a little bit of Loctite glue would be my suggestion if you do want to do that. If you go around 2 or 3 times, pulling nice and tight, you're going to get a nice fit on the piece. From here, I'm going to sew down then a couple rows, just zigzagging through my quarter Tilas and tie off my thread end with just a nice sewer's knot. I'm then going to put my needle on the baseline here, and we'll get ready to do the bottom section of the needle case as well. Down at the bottom here then, after finishing off at the top, I'm once again just going through that last row of my quarter Tilas, adding in 5 of my gray seed beads, picking up that empty quarter Tila hole, going the whole way around here, adding that in. And if you want to, you can downgrade the peyote stitch and you can do a covering along the bottom. I'm once again just going to take a little dab of glue, kind of push this up, glue the bottom here, put it into place, and hold it there. If you do want to downgrade, you could even, do a quarter Tila in between here, downgrade to 4 beads instead of the 5. But as you pull tighter without those seed beads in there, it's going to become really tight around the base of this needle case cover. Just like I did at the top, I'm going to go around twice and 3 times, pulling tight along that baseline to really get it singed up once again along this needle case cover. Once it's singed up tight there along the top, you're going to finish up your needle case cover, just again zigzagging down with some of the thread lines and tying off back along the piece and along the project. As always, thanks so much for joining me in creating this fun needle case cover in that beautiful zigzag pattern. Remember, you can play around with the different counts, getting it with different seed beads, even that may be in your subscription box, so check that out as well for all kinds of variants. Remember, if you do want to check out the best bead box or the best bead box XL, make sure to click on the links below in the description and check them out at PotomacBeads.com. As well as make sure that you comment below if you're doing a different pattern, a change up in the number, change up in colors, and share your post in our Facebook group for beading and jewelry making, as well as our Facebook group for the best bead box. Thanks so much to Anna for this fun basket weave needle case cover, and enjoy.